Hi everyone, it's Sal Jade from the Psychic Healing Academy and best-selling tarot instructor on Udemy. And I'm here to share with you today 3 very common myths around the tarot that I would like to debunk for you and explain why they are debunkable, and also to maybe talk a little bit about where they come from. So, those of you who don't know me, I have helped over 90,000 students around the world read tarot and learn tarot and connect with their intuitive gifts and run tarot businesses. If you'd like to receive these offerings, please do hit subscribe, and I hope that you get a lot of value out of this video, and please do comment below if you've enjoyed it. So the first myth I would like to start on is one that always threw me a lot when I first started teaching tarot. So I've been teaching tarot now for over 15 years, and when I moved online, I started getting people from different cultures come in, and which was so fabulous because it meant I got to connect and understand what their needs were when it came to reading the tarot. And one of the questions I started getting was, I've been told I can't read tarot when I have my cycle or when I've got my periods, and is this true? So I always revert to what I call gypsy mode, and people might be like, what's that? Whenever there is a myth around the tarot, I go back to go, what would the gypsies have done? So the traditional Romanian gypsies that were reading tarot around Europe, throughout the centuries, how would they have handled that question? Or, how did they manage their tarot reading practice? And the first answer to that one is obviously, well, people are professional tarot readers, and the majority are women, and the majority of women are 1 week out of 4 menstruating. So by saying, no, you're not allowed to read tarot when you are menstruating is basically insinuating that you can't work for 1 week out of every 4 weeks. And some people have, problems with their cycle, and they might be erratic. They might get it for 3 days, and they're not getting anything for 10 days. And so you can't run a business like that. And you also can't be able to feel confident if you don't know when you're allowed to read and when you're not. Now, I suggest that, and please, I'm not judging anybody's spiritual beliefs here. I'm going by my own travels and what I've learnt. I know there are certain temples that I experienced when I was in Thailand that women aren't allowed in, or there's certain temples I know in Bali that if you are menstruating, you're not allowed in. They have their own beliefs about why that's important, and I don't need to go into that. That's their spiritual beliefs about why that's important. All I know is that with the tarot, that this has never been a thing that I have ever been aware of. And I have known dozens and dozens of female tarot readers that are professionals and been professionals for 40 years and have never had this as an issue. So my advice is, yes, you can read while you've got your cycle. There should be no reason why you can't. The only reason maybe you don't want to is if you're having a really extremely bad day and you're stressed and you might be afraid you start yelling at your client. That's the only reason I would give. Otherwise, you are able to. And please do keep it in mind. Some of those traditional, like the pagan cultures and some of those really traditional ancient cultures, like the Celts, they often believed that women were at their most powerful. Like a lot of rituals happened during women's cycles. So please don't feel like you are going to be doing something wrong if you read and you are on your cycle. Having said that, of course, if you really truly believe it's a problem, then please don't do it. Just do what works for you. So the second myth that I hear frequently, and again that I revert back to my gypsies, my gypsy table, is it true that I'm not allowed to read tarot after sunset? Now, I've got no idea where this myth came from. I don't know. It baffles me a little bit, that one. Again, not judging anyone that has it. But again, if you think about people have read tarot for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, to think that they would only do that in the daylight doesn't always make sense. And obviously anyone running a business, some people can only work at night. They've got other day jobs. And sometimes clients can only come and see you at night. I don't understand where that came from. And yes, of course you can read tarot after sunset. That should never be a problem. Again, if you feel like it is, then don't. But I can't see how that would ever harm or damage you by reading tarot after sunset. Now, the third one, and this is probably the most common one, is that you cannot have a deck of cards unless somebody has bought them for you. Now, this one's been around for ages, and it's been around for so long that actually it's what I believed. So I can buy into number 3. I don't even refer to my gypsy table. Yes, I got my first tarot deck. My mother bought it for me. It was a Thoth deck. It was my very first one. about, oh my goodness, 20 plus years ago now, the first one I ever owned, and she gifted it to me. She bought it for my birthday. So I believed that was the only way you could do it too. Since then, and as I said, I've worked with many tarot readers, I've taught many tarot readers. Since then, I have realised that that myth doesn't really serve us, for the simple reason is that some people out there might not have friends or loved ones or people that can give them presents that believe in the tarot or that won't have an issue with the tarot. So you could be sitting your whole life waiting for someone to gift you a tarot deck. So it's not a practical myth, that one. I would say, yes, if someone gifts it to you, that's great, but obviously you can buy your own tarot deck. And ever since that fifth one, I've always bought my own tarot decks. So please do remember that sometimes we've got to be a little bit practical when it comes to some of these myths as well. I would love to hear any of your myths that you've heard down below. I'm a huge fan of, weird and wacky things that we can hear about the tarot. And there might be some things that you have heard that I might know the origin from, like where that comes from. So do pop them down there. And again, as I said, if you would like to receive more of these, please do hit subscribe. But I hope that's helped debunking 3 of those myths. And again, if you have heard one of the myths I have debunked today and you don't agree with me, that's fine. Take what works for you always. This is only just what works for me. Thank you so much for joining me.